We are talking with R.A. Bradley in his home here in Lubbock. And R.A. Bradley lived in Muleshoe for very many years. How many, Brad?
47 and a half.
47 and a half years. They were good years.
Yes, they were.
But before that, you were in the service.
Oh, yes. I went in the service from New Mexico.
From New Mexico.
From Portales, New Mexico. We lived at this little town named Dora.
Sure. And what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Army Corps of Engineers, 398th Corps of Engineers.
And how many years did you serve our country?
A little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years.
2 years, 9 months in all, but something like that.
And there is a very special group of people in America and right here on the Panhandle and the South Plains of Texas that are being recognized through America Supports You Texas. And this is taking our veterans, especially of World War II, is that right, Brad, to Washington, D.C.?
Yes, World War II veterans are the number one pick because we're dying off at about 2,000 a day. And if they would take a full flight, there's 137 of us, and all include staff and veterans and so forth.
That went on this trip.
Right.
To Washington. And how much did you have to pay to go?
As a veteran, I paid nothing. It was free. We were treated like kings.
And you are kings.
Well, that I'll dispute, but then, yeah, we were treated like kings, though.
And so you left out of Amarillo in what month?
September the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Left out on September the 8th. We went to Amarillo on September the 7th at 6 o'clock in the evening. They had a reception for all veterans and their wives and family like that, and they gave us a packet. And it had our names, had a T-shirt we put on that night, had it on, and then they gave us 3 kind of pullover shirts that had collars on them, really nice looking ones. We had a white one, a blue, and a red one. And those we started wearing on Thursday of the 8th. I mean, on Wednesday of the 8th.
On your way to Washington.
Right. In other words, on Wednesday, all veterans wore white. And now, if you were not able to walk a long ways, you needed help, they had people going on like daughters or sons or something like that. And they were called Guardian Volunteers. Now, they had to pay for their part, but the veteran didn't pay anything. And so at that time, the veterans wore white the first day, and the Guardians or the volunteers wore blue. Now, the second day, they wore white, and we wore blue. And then on the third day, which was Friday, everybody wore red.
Well, now, in Washington, D.C., if there was one thing that really stood out in your memory thinking back to that 3-day trip, what was the most thrilling to go to or see or witness?
Probably at the hospital. We went
to Walter Reed?
We went to Walter Reed Hospital, and they set us down in rows in chairs, and there was a group of young men and women that had come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they were actually employees right now at Walter Reed, but they came by and shook hands with us, every one of us, and thanked us for what we did, and we were thanking them for what they are doing. And I don't know, that kind of touched you pretty deep.
I bet it did.
It was a wonderful trip. I suggest to any veteran, and this includes World War II, Vietnam, Korea, all of them. In fact, we had Vietnam and Korean veterans on our trip.
Did you?
Oh, yes, besides. But like I said, World War II is the number one pick. And then if they don't have enough, then they go into like Vietnam and then Korean. And
so it's open to any veteran then?
Oh, yes.
And And so, how did this get started, I wonder? Is there a certain man or woman who...
This is off and on all over the whole of the United States, as far as I know.
Really?
I know I've heard of places in Dallas that have this too. And of course, Amarillo got theirs started, and now they have at least 2 every year.
It's 2 trips every year.
They had one in September, then they had one in October.
And they've done this in years past too.
Oh yeah, this is not the first year they've done it. They get support from groups, they have drives and raise money. Different groups like Southwest Airlines donates a big part. I'm sure that they donated a big part of the plane ride.
So you flew up and flew back both?
Oh yeah, we flew on Southwest Airlines up there. We flew on the same plane up there and back, same crew. Yeah, we kind of got to know them too.
So it was a chartered.
Oh yes.
And so now, and you didn't pay for your hotel or your meals or anything?
You don't pay for anything. In fact, we was gone, and I took money just in case. But I'd heard there was 3 of us from the church that we go to. 3 of us went, all World War II veterans. And all 3 of us, we went to curio shops and all this kind of stuff, but we did not spend 1 penny.
Is that right? Now, besides being able to actually interact with these men and women who have served and are serving in Afghanistan and Iraq at the Walter Reed Hospital there in the Washington, D.C. area, what else did you do?
We stayed busy. One of the things that really impressed me is when we landed in Baltimore. When we got off the plane, we were met by about 20 or more young men and women in full uniform from all branches of service, lined up on 2 sides, and we walked between them, and they clapped and then they stopped after we all got through, and they stopped, came around and talked to us and visited with us, and it was fantastic. You talk about youth and how beautiful they looked, men and women. They were both service. Sure. And but we went to all memorials in Washington. We laid a wreath at all memorials in Washington. We laid 2 at the World War II wreath, because we laid one in memory of the Pacific side and one for the Atlantic side.
And, of course, I know probably on that group of men that you went with, none of you had seen probably the World War II memorial.
No, I had seen most of Washington, D.C., but not the World War II memorial. It's real big. And we were told that the way they have the states all lined up in there is the way that they came in and become members of the United States.
Oh, really?
And also the provinces. In other words, I think Texas was
1936.
Well, but I mean, like say in the order, maybe 38 or 30, something like that. Whatever number you came in. Of course, I guess Hawaii would be last. Yes. I'm not sure about that, but we laid 2 wreaths there. Then we walked over from there to the Washington Monument, and some of them went up in the tower. Of course, I'd been up in it before, and I didn't go. And I was trying to think. For while we were there, our bus, when we landed in Baltimore, we all had a name tag, and they were bordered with red, blue, or gold. Okay, mine and my 2 buddies, our name tag was in gold, so we rode the gold bus. You had a red bus, a blue bus, and a gold bus. When we got on the buses, they said, now, remember where you're sitting, because that's your seat for 3 days. Every place we went back in that same bus, got on the same seat, and for 3 days. And we went to the Marine Memorial, and it's very beautiful. I hadn't seen it now. It's where, like, the 5 guys raising the flag.
On Iwo Jima?
Yeah, on Iwo Jima. And then we went to...
What about FDR? Did you go there to that new statue? It has the little dog, his little dog.
No.
That's a new one.
No, that we didn't. We went to the Korean, and then when we went like the World War II Memorial, World War II veterans presented the flag, the wreath. We went to the Korean Memorial. Korean boys were in front, and the rest of us were behind. And we went to Vietnam. Vietnam veterans were in front.
Did you go to the cemetery?
Oh yes, we went to the. We went to the. I'm trying to think about the house. Can't remember the name of it right now. That one of the generals in the Civil War.
Oh, Robert E. Lee.
Yes. Okay, and
his home.
His home. Then we went to the cemetery where Kennedy and his wife and kiddos in the everlasting flame is. Mm-hmm. And I took a bunch of pictures of the cemetery. And then we went to eat that night. This is all Wednesday now.
That first day.
Mm-hmm. And
I bet you were tired, Brad.
Well, we had to report to the airport in Amarillo at 5:30.
Oh, a.m.
A.m. And when we got back to finally about 9:30, we got to our hotel. Uh-huh. And when we checked our luggage in, and I'll tell you how they treat you. You check your luggage in at Amarillo, and you won't see it till you get into your room. It'll be in your room.
Oh, you didn't have to get it off the carousel or carry it to a bus or a taxi or anything.
We didn't touch it until on Friday when we set it outside the door, and they picked it up, and we picked it up in Amarillo.
Oh, they really treated you royally. Now, if a vet is listening to this and he or she would like to go on this wonderful trip of honor to Washington, D.C., how would they get it started?
Well, they need to get in touch with Amarillo. Okay. Now, we're New Mexico. Some of these were from New Mexico and Texas. It's not, in other words, I'd say if Oklahoma or Kansas or any other have got in touch with them, all you have to do is get to Amarillo. And then they'll take care of you.
Okay, so how did they find you, or how did you find them?
Well, one of our gentlemen that went with us was he was in the European theater too. In fact, he got shot out, and he was POW, and then he escaped. And I have an article on his adventures as that. But I don't know how he found out about it, but he had the applications, and he wanted to know if I wanted to go. And there was 3 of us. In fact, there was about 5 of us at church that wanted to go. And one gentleman, his wife was so bad that he said he couldn't go off and leave her. And another gentleman was put on standby. But then the 3 of us, we sent our applications in, and then they turned around and called us. And
so I guess, Brad, if someone was interested, they could call you here in Lubbock, and you would get them in touch with the right people in Amarillo.
I could, or I can give you the address, and you can put it on your thing there as to how to get in touch with them and everything. It is fantastic. I would say any veteran that is able, go. It would be worth. In fact, I had my daughter and son at one time found out, and this was years ago, so this has been going on for a while. And they kind of wanted us to go, but I didn't want to go off and leave my wife. And so we come up here, and this time come up and said something about, I kind of like to go. And she said, well, go. Yeah. I think it kind of surprised her even. She said it.
I think that's wonderful. Maria encouraged you.
But she thought we'd be flying out of Lubbock. When we found out that we were going to be flying out of Amarillo, she has 2 sisters up there. She said, well, I'll just go up to Amarillo and spend the 3 days with them.
Well, that was nice for both of you.
So it turned out fine. And